What we cannot control is where the economy is heading and whether the stock market's going to go up or down. We're not in control of that. Nearly all predictions are wrong just because this space is just too complex and it's too fast changing and nobody knows. We have pundits that spend their days every day talking about whether things are going to go up or down, and they're guessing, and they might be using all kinds of this advanced information, but the reality is they're just guessing. And that's not me speaking, that is the people that aren't trying to sell you something are telling you they're just guessing. And what I would say is, honestly, for most of us, it doesn't matter. We need to focus on what we can control. And if we do that, and particularly I'm talking about us as dentists, we need to focus on what we can control, and we are going to thrive no matter what the conditions are. This gray area was a time when the marketplace went down over 20%. And I'm going to be honest, I wasn't a super good student of money at that point. I put this dot in here where I had sold a bunch of my assets thinking I just cannot watch this go down and down and down and down and down and down and down. So in the market, after I sold it, the market started to rebound and I jumped back in. But I have to tell you that this was now, 13 years ago. By the time I jumped back in, I lost 28% of my portfolio at the time. And I remember talking to one of my mentors, Dr. Green, and he said, "Oh, Mark, this is," of course, I was super embarrassed and I didn't want to tell him. He said, "Oh, Mark, that's just fine. There's a couple good things that happen from stuff like this. Number one is it's good for you to learn not to time the market. And the second thing was," he said, "it's a good thing you didn't have that much money because it'd be different if you had a lot more money." So what I tell people is no one is good at timing the market. So stay in the marketplace even when things go down. The first thing I always recommend dentists invest their money in is getting a good own occupation disability insurance plan and buy an umbrella. Umbrella policies are inexpensive and covers for extra things that could happen in your life. Get term life insurance. Please, please, please do not buy whole life insurance plans. Build an emergency fund. If you work in a corporation or work for the company that has a company match for their employer retirement, at least put in whatever the match is. So if you put in 3% and your employer puts in 3%, you've just doubled your money. There are going to be few chances in your life where you will have the instant gratification of doubling your money. Paying off debt and saving and investing as much as you can are the next two things. And ultimately, those get to be kind of toss-up things between what do I do? Do I pay off debt first or save and invest as much as I can? I'm going to encourage you to be saving and investing and paying off debt all at the same time. Each of these is a strategic system to work on in your office. So I'd want to increase gross revenues. I want to decrease business expenses. I want to decrease personal spending. All of these levers are things that we have a choice. And what I share with people is in the world of increasing gross revenues, there are three things that influence gross revenues: the number of visits, kind of how busy you are. Do you have open chair time in your office? How much production per visit do you have in your office? And what's your collection percentage? And to be honest with you, gross revenue is no more complicated than the number of visits that you have times your production per visit times your collection percentage. So as dentists, as those that are running dental teams, these are the things that we have to pay attention to. And there are strategic systems that influence each of these areas. Here are an example of 10 systems. I'm not going to go through each of these individually, but each of these three systems under the number of visits, reappointment rate, new patients, and attrition, that influences how many people we see from a per visit standpoint. The middle three, fees, block scheduling, mix of services, case acceptance, all of those things influence production per visit, and how we manage collections in our practice. That's all part of gross revenue. What do you need to be thinking about from the long term? I would say You want to be biased towards a stock portfolio. Make sure that you are diversified. An S&P 500 has 500 different stocks that it's tracking. So be aware of that. The second half of your career, you're going to see yourself gain 80% of your money because of this parabolic curve that's called compound interest. So if the first period is called the desert period, to me, the second period is called the dessert period.